Jonathan Lowe from CBS 5 News again. I'd like to direct this question to Mr. Hunt. At that briefing with the families, I can only imagine that part of their frustration dealt with, as you mentioned, the communications and the radio issues that existed that day, and the gap, the 30-minute gap in communication. How do you explain that to the families, knowing that their loved ones sacrificed their life and their safety, went into this situation and didn't have something as simple as adequate radio communication?
I don't know if they did not have adequate radio communications. As Jim said, they had communicated with aircraft, and so as far as we know, their radios were working, they could communicate, they just did not communicate. And some of that is pretty common during a wildfire that is starting to roach houses, and the activity that goes with that. So we just don't know why that break in time is. But yes, it was very difficult talking to families about that. That break in communications is not, or the time like that we have in talking to those folks at 30 minutes is not that uncommon in wildland fires. If their supervisors think that they're in one place and relatively safe, that's not that uncommon. But that's one of the things we'll look at in some of the recommendations is, what type of timeline should we look at?
The gentleman standing right in front of you.
Richardson with NBC News. For Jim or Mike, again, I know it's speculation as to why they left the ridge. In your investigation, did you find alternatives to what they did, number one? And number two, whose decision would that be to leave the black zone and go into the canyon?
There are alternatives, and we discuss it in the report. They could have stayed right where they were. They could have proceeded north and come out toward Model Creek, which is actually where one of the crews thought they had it. There was also a way that once you got to that saddle, before turning and going into the canyon, you could have gone off the backside toward Highway 89 as it heads down toward Congress. That would have been one of the options as well, none of which they obviously took. I'm sorry, the second part of your question?
The decision, who made that decision? In normal circumstances, who would have made that decision to move?
Under normal circumstances, it would probably have been one of two people, either the division supervisor requesting a crew move within their division, or it had been the crew leader making that decision to move. Both of those, in this situation, they were one and the same, even though the superintendent was acting as the division supervisor, the captain was acting as the crew leader. Among themselves, one of them made that decision, and it would have been handled between the two of them. We just don't have any documentation on who made that decision or why.
Okay, I think, gentleman, third up, you had a question?
Dave Biskobing, ABC 15. If one of the recommendations is to better track these crews and perhaps put GPS with them, rather than a recommendation, that seems so simple. Why wouldn't we just do that right now?
I think that's something we'll look at very carefully. Wildland fires, we have agencies coming to these fires from all over the country, fire departments from all over the state. So the system has to be standard, and it has to be able to, supervisors need to be able to look at it, see what the crews are. So, yeah, I agree. The thought is simple, but we need to make sure that it works and it's something that all agencies can use. So that's something we'll be looking at.
I think we had, let's finish up on this side right here.
No, let's go right here. I want to wait a minute past the rail. I don't have a question. I'm a father. My name is David Turpinville, and you guys cite your recommendations, your 7 recommendations, and it does not include fire shelter technology improvement. And on page 87 of the report, you have a very optimistic material temperature standards for all the materials that were found at the site. you guys don't have a materials analyst within your deal, and I know that you talk about fire shelter weight. I've already been doing some of my own fire shelter development testing, and I know that there is materials that are available that will protect these guys. That shelters that they are hauling, that they currently, all the wildland firefighters took 13 years from Storm King Mountain to the shelter that you guys carry today. Now, do you want to wait another 13 years? Or are we going to do something sooner? You say it's a last resort. There isn't a football player that goes on the field without pads and a helmet. You don't send a structural fire department guy into a fire without the proper protection gear. He doesn't go into that fire unless there is life or liberty or life to be saved. Okay? I've had numerous fire guys tell me that if they had a fire engine right there with them, that they would not survive. You know what? A fire engine is not designed to survive a fire. A fire engine is designed to transport the fire crew to the scene. Their protective equipment is designed to protect them from survival.
What we implore is that you give us information, that you keep the lines of communication open, and that you allow us to go forward so this tragedy never happens again. It's avoidable. Please, cut through the red tapes. Cut through the protection that you need to protect us. Your protection of us is killing us. We're willing to take the heat right now, but I don't want another family to deal with this. Help us. I implore you, help us. Give us the information we need to change this. It is so, so necessary. Please.
Thank you for your sharing with us. I will say one thing. You brought up, obviously, some very good points. And with your loss, it's extremely important to you. What I'd like to offer is that you two sit down with some officials. We can have a one-on-one talk about that, talk about the process to get changes made, okay? So if you could stick with us a minute afterwards, we will arrange for a meeting in the future. Next. Yes, sir. Folks, we have a little interruption first.
I hate to be an interruption and I apologize, but I'm from the Prescott High School Band Boosters, and we are currently loading our vans to head to a festival this afternoon. And right now I have 2 gray Yukons and 1 green Nissan Altima that are currently right where we cannot move the trailer. So if I could ask somebody to please move those, we'd appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Okay, we have enough time for one more question, and then we're going to have individual opportunities here. Yes, sir.
Brian Mockner from the Atlantic Magazine. So the radio communications, this is all happening on the same frequency. So when at Granite Mountain, when the supervisor talking to the Blue Ridge superintendent, that traffic, is that overheard by the incident communicator? And with aerial attack, are these guys stepping on each other's transmissions, or would he have heard the supervisor say that they're going down that road and they're in the black? Or was that just between the Blue Ridge?
That was actually communicated and heard by the air support module that was flying over. So they listened to tactical, they also listened to the command frequency, they picked up on that. Some of the communication that took place, and obviously the communication that was pertinent between Division Alpha and the crew leader was done on intra-crew radio. That's only between their radios, no one else picked up on that.
I have a question that maybe this is just over group if you can. Could each of you on the line right now, given the atmosphere of all this, could you say that you were not persuaded or forced in any way to eliminate or change or alter information that you personally felt was important to explain this tragedy?
Yes, every member of my team could also state that as well.
And I can state that as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. At this point, this ends the formal part. We will have interview opportunities in the lobby for the media. If you would, are welcome to go out there. Folks will be available for interviews in the lobby itself. Thank you for being here today and for your patience. This has been a trying time for all of us. God bless and have a safe trip home.